Hello and welcome back to Niche 3D. In today's tutorial we're going to go over references and how to set them up and get them within your scene. Okay. Before we get started, I'm going to set up my units. So I'm going to go to Customize up here, Unit Setup, and in my Display Unit Scale I'm going to make sure that it's metric, and in the drop down I choose centimeters. And within my system units I want to make sure that it's not inches and that it's centimeters, and just hit OK and hit OK again. Voila. So setting up a reference. Number one, you want to go and find a reference. There is one in the description if you want it, but the same one as we are using for this tutorial. So this is my reference for a table. I will be doing a tutorial on creating this table. But this is the reference we're going to work with. I've got it open in Photos. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to check the file information and get my dimensions. So it's 1548 by 1063. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a plane. That's just over here in your create panel. Left click and drag to create your plane. If you accidentally knock your parameters off, you can go over to your modify panel. Let's rename this to reference for now. So the length will be 1063 by 1548. So we've got our plane, it's of the correct dimensions. Now we just need to put the reference into the scene. So we'll do that by pressing M, which will bring up your material editor. I'm going to switch over to compact material editor for now, and I'm just going to drag this first material on. Now this material is nothing at the moment, it's just grey. Next to your diffuse there's this little box, and if you just click in there and find bitmap at the top and then find your image, now you guys, yours should be fine. I've noticed with my 3ds Max, use real world scale pops up for me every time. I'll have to change this back to not use real world scale, and then I have to check real world scale, real world map size off on the actual plane itself. You can click and drag the material over to the mesh, or you can assign material to selection just there, and then once you've done that you want to show shaded material in viewport, and it should look a little bit like that. So we've got our reference in, but it's not quite there yet, is it? So we need to E to rotate. I want to rotate it 90 degrees, but we're going to press A. If you just look up here, we have angle snap toggle. We'll just turn that on, and that'll snap by 5 degrees. We'll just rotate that by 90 degrees on one of these axes, which highlight in yellow the axis 1. Okay. W to move. If we go into our hierarchy panel, we want to affect our pivot. It is currently central to the object, but what we want is we want it down here, we want it at the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually bring up our snaps toolbar, and we'll do that by right clicking in a grey area, so long as you can find a grey area. I usually do it underneath this section here. And it'll bring up a little toolbar, and you can bring up your snaps, and I usually drag it to the side and leave it docked here at the side. And once you've done that, you want to toggle grid points off and go to snap to vertex toggle and just put that on, and also enable axis constraints. The reason why we do this is so then you can constrain it to like whilst you've got it on. It's not just, oh, just go anywhere. You can constrain it to axes, so to just the X, to the Z, etc. So yeah, we want to affect the pivot and just make sure it's at the bottom here, and we can turn that off, turn affect pivot only off after. Once we've done that, down here we have the location of the reference, and we want that to be at 0, 0, tab, and then 0. Enter. And that way the reference is at the world origin. Now we've got our reference in, we need to get it to world size now as 10 meters, 1063 centimeters. It's a little bit tall for a table, considering that, you know, the average human height is around 176 centimeters. So we need to get this to around 78 centimeters, which is around the height of a table, because it's about 30 inches. I'm going to grab a box and just throw it in like so. And I'm going to go into my modify panel. The top two don't matter so much, the length and the width. The height needs to be 78 centimeters. Okay, and what we can do is we'll just make sure by pressing W to move, make sure by right clicking on the arrows that it's in the center, and then we'll select the reference, press R to scale, and then we'll scale it down until it's pretty close. So that's pretty close now. And now we actually have the correct size reference in our scene. Something which I usually do as well is I'll grab the reference and I'll move it backwards so it's not quite in the way, and then in the corresponding panel, Alt W to switch panels by the way, I'll just click up here and just put that to default shading and press G to turn my grid off. Also, I'll select my reference, I'll freeze it, but it goes grey when you freeze it. To stop it from doing that, unfreeze it, select the reference, right click on it, go to properties, and right down here it says show frozen in grey. You just want to turn that off. Okay, and turn back face cull on. And essentially what that does is when you are looking behind it, you will see straight through it with back face cull. And with show frozen in grey, it's self-explanatory. So if I freeze it, I can't select it now, I can't do anything with it, it's frozen. But also if I'm looking at it from this side, because I've put that back face culling on, I can see straight through it. These are options specifically for this one reference, for this one object. These are object properties. So if I wanted it to happen on other things, I'd have to go over and do it individually on them as well. So that was how to set up and get a reference into your scene. Thanks for watching guys, I hope you got some valuable information from this video. If you did, then hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, just to help me out. And well, I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.